I was building something millions of people loved, but behind the scenes, I was disappearing. The cameras never showed the breakdowns, the silence, or the one moment that I thought it was all over. There's a part of my story I never shared because I didn't think I would survive it. This isn't about food. This is about what happens when you lose yourself chasing something so beautiful, and how I finally found my way back.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 1 of Naked with Karina. And on today's episode, we're going to be discussing all about the lovely Karina and what she's up to. What is she doing? And everyone wants to know, why Naked with Karina? Why the title?
Because here we get naked. We strip on this podcast.
Like now?
It just means we're bearing our souls. So we're getting naked with people.
Karina, you were inspired by your own journey to call it Naked with Karina because you're going to go in deep.
Deep.
And not only deep, you're also going to expose yourself to the whole entire world.
Pretty much. Scary thing.
It's a very scary thing.
Especially since a lot of things that have been put out there up until now, especially on Facebook, has gotten a lot of support but also gotten a lot of hate, put it that way. So this is why this podcast was born or created to, I think people coming to the website always ask me, well, first of all, we have an About Me page on the website. And on that About Me page, I talk about, just really roughly, I summarize what I've been through in my life. And so a lot of people on Facebook that are supporters know my story and are there to defend, which is really nice. So basically on Instagram, we put out the questions over the last couple of weeks. What do people want to hear? What do people want answered? And actually a lot of the replies surprised me. A lot of people are asking me, they want to know me.
Okay.
They want to know who Karina is.
I guess that's the difference from where you were, because before that, it was all about the food.
We never saw Karina because...
Puffy Karina?
Puffy Karina, yeah. Swollen Karina. What did you call me the other day? Puff Mama?
Puff Mama.
Our producer's having probably 3 strokes by now. Puff Mamas. No, we never saw Puff Mama because I didn't start out as Puff Mama. So if people want to know how all of this started, how the blog started and who am I think we should start there.
Okay. Let's take it right back.
Nice and raw.
Mm-hmm.
I think everything started, should we go back right to childhood? Is that where we're going? We're having a therapy session right now with 2 people that probably need help.
The most, yeah.
That's very true. Therapy. Well, this is all on my About Me page anyway, and this is what people have commented on over the last few years and the last couple of weeks.
And I think you wrote a book about this, didn't you?
I did. I self-published it just because I wanted to get it out there and inspire people. But from age 9 to age 16, I was sexually molested by a very close family member. I won't say who, but he was a close family friend.
How old were you then?
9 when it started.
Jeez.
And it started with little things like we were in the pool together, we were playing games like Marco Polo, which were his idea, by the way, and then he would tag me, but he would grab me when he tagged me and he would touch me. And I would think to myself at 9 years old, surely that didn't happen. That's all in my head. I'm crazy. That didn't happen, because I was taught to respect him and love him unconditionally. So when you talk about someone like that your family respects, it's very hard as a child to comprehend what's happening. And that went on until I was 16, and then he managed to convince my parents to have me go over to New York, where he lived.
Where were you at that time?
I was living in Australia on the Gold Coast. And he managed to convince my parents, because I've been a dancer my entire life. So my dream was to be a backup dancer for Janet Jackson. I was 16. Don't judge me. But I love Janet Jackson.
How good were your dance moves?
Pardon?
How good were your dance moves?
Probably not that good, but it was my dream. Don't kill it. And he convinced my parents for me to go over to New York because he was going to find me a dance agent and do all these things for me. And my alarm bells were going off because obviously I'd been molested by him a few times throughout the years. Even though I was convincing myself it wasn't that, I still knew something was going on. And when I got to New York, I remember arriving at the airport, JFK airport, and he grabbed me and his tongue went into my mouth. And I was like, I was kind of shocked. And then the security guard came over to me and said, Miss, are you okay? Do you need help? And I said, no, I'm fine. Like,
you were 16
I was
years
so
old.
used to, yeah. And I was so used to always sugarcoating it and burying it because no, that didn't happen. His face, I'll never forget, was just like, are you sure? Because he obviously saw the interaction. And then I started questioning, well, is it real or is it not? Like, what's
obviously
happening?
someone else externally is looking and observing and going, hey, something's not right.
Exactly.
That could have been like a big blessing from up above, right?
Yeah, that was my way out, but I didn't see it that way. And I was kind of, because I was taught to respect him, I was also protecting him in a weird way. Like it's so hard to explain to people the emotions you go through in that split second. You just panic and you go into survival mode. And how can I survive? And I was scared too. I was 16 in a foreign country. I'd never been to New York
You just
before.
landed by yourself.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was scared. And then he took me for a drive around Manhattan and then he was making me touch him. And I remember grabbing my hand back and pretending to look out the window and trying not to cry because it was really scary for me realizing, fuck, like all this time, at least my parents were around from 9 till then. If anything happened, I could scream. But this time I'm by myself in a car with this man who I don't know how he'll react if I defend myself.
My God.
Sorry, I laughed too much.
This is pre-mobile phones. This is
Pre-everything.
Pre-everything.
So I was literally by myself, and when we got to his house, we got into the garage. He came up behind me and he had locked the door to get into the house. So he came up behind me and he was touching me and kissing my neck. And I remember elbowing him and saying, open the door. He opened the door and I ran inside to the room, to one of the rooms, and I just slammed the door shut and cried. And I just thought, what do I do? And then he was banging on the door saying to me, come out. I want you to call your parents and tell them that you're okay. And I thought, oh my God, how can I tell my dad? How can I tell my dad?
Did he have a partner?
Yeah, his wife. He calculated everything. So his wife was in Canada or Connecticut or somewhere on a conference for 3 days. So he had me for 3 days by himself in his house. And I remember
That is creepy.
I remember he was banging on the door, telling me to come out. And I remember looking under the door to make sure his footsteps had gone. And then I opened the door to get out. And when I rang my dad to say I was okay, I just started crying because I was screaming for help on the inside, but I didn't know how to say it on the outside because he was circling me. And then I remember he had a knife.
What?
So
While
I remember
you were talking, he was circling around with a damn knife.
Yeah, like a big knife. So I just remember.
Jesus Christ.
And then my father kept asking me, why are you crying? Why are you crying? And because I miss you, I love you. And I just didn't know I didn't know what to do, how to say it. And then I went back to the room and he was banging on the door. After about an hour, he started banging on the door, let me in, I want to make love to you.
Oh my God.
And this man was about 76 and I was 16.
And
I saw him as an uncle. So it was very hard for me to go through that at 16. And remember at 16, like my mum had brought me up to be pretty much, I wasn't innocent. I mean, I was 16, but I'd never been touched by a man before. I was completely innocent and
this is
in
horrible.
that way.
And back then, I don't think they even were really educating young people about the dangers of that.
No, there was no say no or this is wrong, or if someone touches you, this is what you do. There was none of that. So I was panicking the entire time. Like when I went and had a shower, he was banging on the bathroom door, let me in, let me shower with you. It was a very, very scary time. For 3 days he tried, and then I remember when his wife came back, she noticed that I wasn't talking to him as much because I stayed away from him. And she's encouraging me, saying to me, he loves you. It's not nice that you're treating him this way. I noticed that you're not talking to him. Go in and apologize. And I felt bad and I felt guilty. So I went into the room and apologized to him for not talking to him.
Oh, my God.
And he pinned me against the wall and started kissing me and touching me everywhere.
While his wife was there?
His wife was in the kitchen. And
Did
this was
she
in the
know
office.
what was going on?
I don't know. So that was a very hard time. And I remember when he would take me in the car and we would drive. And remember, I'm stuck there. I can't call anyone. I don't have a phone. I can't do anything. Like I'm literally stuck with this man, and he made sure I was with him 24/7, so I couldn't talk to anyone else. I couldn't ask anyone for help. I was just with him all the time. That was his way of controlling the situation, I guess. But I remember once in the car, he said to me, I wanted you since you were 2 years old and I was changing your nappy.
Oh, my God, that is disgusting.
And that's when I actually started laughing when he said that, because I thought he was a joke. And at the same time, I was trying to process what this man just said to me. And then I felt disgusted and I wanted to throw up. And I said to him, you are sick. How can you say that to me? And he said to me, if you tell me right now that you'll fly with me to Hawaii and marry me, we'll disappear and we'll fly and we don't have to see anyone, we don't have to tell anyone. And I was like, what am I going to tell my parents? Oh, no, we don't tell your parents anything. Just go to Hawaii, we elope, and I'll have you for the rest of my life.
What a creep.
So that was the first traumatic experience as a child that I had.
How did it all come to an end?
When I got back to Australia, I was different. So I was a dancer all my life. Like music and dancing is my passion. It was my DNA. It was who I was. Not a day went past that I wasn't dancing or listening to music, even till today. But when I got back, I had gained a lot of weight because I was depressed. He was buying me chocolates every day, perfumes, flowers, jewelry, just to keep my mouth shut, I think. So I gained a lot of weight, and because I gained weight, I went back to dancing, and obviously everyone they all have athletic bodies, and I just said to Mum, I don't feel comfortable here anymore. I don't want to dance anymore. And my mum looked at me, and my dance teacher was going to my mum's work. What's wrong with Karina? Why doesn't she come back? And he took my innocence. He took part of me. I left a piece of myself in New York.
My gosh.
And it's very sad because I've got daughters now and I've protected them their whole lives from being in a situation like this, because I think that was the beginning of losing myself. Like he took a piece of me, and that was that innocence. And I just didn't know who I was. I lost a reason to live, I guess, in a way. Why am I here?
Could you confide in anyone at that time?
I told one person, a friend, and she never spoke to me again. And so that's when you internalize everything and you don't want to tell anyone because people judge you or people think you're lying.
Wow.
So it's really difficult. And as I said, that was the beginning of losing myself. And after 2 years, he was calling the house all the time, and in the end, I didn't want to talk to him anymore. And my father would always force me to talk to him because you have to show respect. And my father obviously didn't know. And then in the end, I just told my dad, look, this is what happened to me. And I needed to get it out because I was, going out. I was drinking. My parents didn't know what was wrong with me. Like I had changed from being a dancer and disciplined and rehearsals, and 5 days a week I was at rehearsals and competitions and shows. Like that was my world, to go from that to nothing and just drinking.
trauma just derailed your whole entire life.
I think the trauma of holding it in and not telling anyone was worse, which is why I'm a huge advocate now to just talk, get everything off your chest. Don't bottle anything up, because I've lived firsthand what it is to hold all of that in and not tell anyone.
And this is what this whole podcast is all about.
Exactly.
This is Naked with Karina. That's why we're naked. We bare our souls. We talk about our deepest, most traumatic experiences, but not just that, and just expose yourself, because here in a superficial world of Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you only see the surface, but you never go deep.
And people are very quick to judge.
They are.
So that was, and once I told Dad, he wanted to kill him. He was ready to go to New York and spend his life in prison, and I had to talk him out of it because obviously I didn't want to lose my dad.
Now, I've met your dad, and he is, look, he's Cancerian. He's like me. He's like a bull out of a gate. You let that out and he would go nuts. I can't believe he didn't do it.
Well, I just knew that if he would have gone to New York, I'd never see him again. I knew that. So I stopped my dad from going over, and then so that happened. And then after that I was in relationships that, the men didn't really value me.
Did you seek therapy?
No.
So
therapy was something you didn't do either. I don't know. But in these relationships, I was in one that my parents sent me to Colombia because he was very bad for me, didn't treat me right, didn't value me. And my parents saw me crying every day because I didn't value myself. Because of what I'd been through, I thought I deserved that treatment. And so they sent me to Colombia, and in Colombia I was raped by 2 men.
Oh my God.
It was a family party. It was we were all drinking. Everybody was drunk. They invited me to stay the night. And obviously I didn't know why they were inviting me to stay the night, but I did. I went to the room, collapsed because I was drunk. And then I remember one came in and held his hand over my mouth, another one over my neck. So I knew straight away, don't fight. And I was saying no to him, no, what are you doing? And he said, shh. He just said, shh, don't talk. And he put his hand there, and that's when I looked out the window. There was a window in the bedroom. And I remember crying, tears streaming down my face as he raped me. And then, and I was telling myself, don't fight. And then I pretended to pass out, hoping he would leave, and he didn't. He kept going. And then the other guy showed up at the door, at the bedroom door, and as he left, he said to the guy, I prepared her for you. And then the other guy came in, and I was saying, no, please don't. And he did it anyway. And then, and I knew not to fight because the other guy was at the door watching.
This is insane.
So again, I was in that same position. And then I remember when they left, it was probably 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. And I just remember crying the entire time till the sun came up. I watched the sun come up. I was crying. I just wanted to come back to Australia. And that's the one that I didn't tell anyone, no one. I kept my mouth shut for years with that one. I convinced myself that well, no, actually I didn't tell anyone for 2 or 3 years. And then I told one person who was supposed to be my best friend, the one that you trust everything with. And he basically said to me, well, I know you when you're drunk. You probably asked for it. What were you wearing? And I was like, what? I was covered. I was like up to here in a dress down to my ankles. And he said, yeah, but I know you were drinking, you were drunk, Jeez. You asked for it. And so from there, I convinced myself, that's true, I asked for it.
And that was from a male's perspective?
Mm-hmm.
And now this is coming back from, not only did you confide in your first experience with your friend and got completely rejected, now this is the second time around.
Yes.
No, how do you not have trust issues?
I do have trust issues, big ones. You know that.
I know that. I was leading into it.
And I just remember for years, every single day without a fail, when I was in the shower or in bed falling asleep, I'd get the visions of that rape constantly on repeat every day for 10 years. And that was hard to deal with because I didn't tell a soul after that, and I kept it all inside, and I hated myself. I loathed myself. I regretted things. I regretted being there. I wished I fought them off. I wished I was stronger. But how do you fight off? You get paralyzed in fear, and I freeze. I can't move. And so that was really difficult. And then holding on to all that, I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but 10 years later, I developed cancer in my chest, which was sitting on top of my heart.
Jeez.
Which is this scar here. And I was told, because obviously after that I received spiritual counseling, and she actually told me that from holding on to all that trauma and all that hate and resentment to myself is what created the cancer. And that cancer was like the size of a baseball. It was 9 centimeter by 9 centimeter in diameter, and it looked like, when they scanned it, it looked like a mess. It looked like a meatball with spaghettis running through it because I had arteries and everything running through it. It was sitting on top of my heart. It was heavy, and it had spread onto my lungs. So I had stage 4B Hodgkin's lymphoma. It was a type of blood cancer. And I was told that's the best cancer that you're going to get if you choose to get a cancer. And who chooses to get a cancer? I couldn't believe how they would speak to me about it. And then I had to get a needle biopsy done, and I had to wait 8 weeks to get a needle biopsy. And this cancer took about 2 months to get diagnosed in the first place, because the doctor kept sending me back with, oh no, it's just a viral infection. It's just the after effects of a viral infection. So after 2 months I said, okay, give me a scan to show me that it's a viral infection, because I was getting sicker. I was coughing. My voice was changing. I couldn't swallow food because I felt like I was being choked. And so in the end I had a scan done, and that's when they saw the tumour, and then I had to wait 6 to 8 weeks after that for a needle biopsy. And in the biopsy, I'll never forget, the surgeon grabbed my hand. No, the surgeon was praying at the counter. He had his head bowed down. And I said, what's he doing? Like, I wonder what he's doing. I wonder what is he doing? And I was so excited because finally I'm getting a needle biopsy. Finally I'm getting the answers to whatever it is that's hurting me. And he basically, I saw him do the cross, and I was like, oh, what was that? And he turned around and he grabbed my hands and he said, Karina, I want you to pray. I want you to pray that God uses my hands to give you the answers to save your life. And I know doctors, they're not religious, they're scientific. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, I need you to know that you have 99.9% chance of dying on the table today.
Wow.
Because we're going in blind. All of your arteries and major blood vessels have moved from the tumour. They've been pushed. So they're not normally sitting where they usually sit. So we're cutting in blind, and if we nip one of those arteries, you will bleed to death. And I just looked at him and I froze, and I said, well, what's my other option? He said, it's either this and risk it to get treatment and chemo to know what cancer you're fighting, or let the cancer take you. They were my options. And he said to me, but I want you to be strong for the 3 babies you have sitting out there waiting for you. And my son was 6 months old at the time. So I always told my kids, like, they saved my life, because if it wasn't for them, I probably wouldn't have the courage to go through that. I didn't want my kids I didn't want them to not have a mother or not know who I was. So I had the surgery, which was, I think, 5 or 6 hours. And then I remember when I woke up, I was like, oh my God, I woke up. I was so excited that I woke up.
Oh,
and then
revelations.
I tried to take a deep breath, and I couldn't because there was a tube, which is the other scar here. It was stuck into my lung to help. It was a drainage tube. And I couldn't breathe, and then I had a panic attack because I couldn't breathe, and then they were yanking at the tube, and I was going to throw up because I was like, oh, it just didn't feel good. And in the end, I was fine, and then I finally knew what was wrong with me, so I did 6 months of chemo. I did 4 weeks of radiation therapy every day, driving myself to and from radiation. And in chemo, I met a lot of people. And that's when I knew that cancer doesn't discriminate. And I met personal trainers. I met naturopaths. I met a naturopath that passed away 3 months later from bowel cancer.
Oh, man.
And that was hard because we had gotten close through chemo. But I think from that experience, one thing I learned is I was surrounded by support, surrounded by love and friends. And, you know, they helped me shave my head because we raised money for the Leukemia Foundation. And I was losing my hair, so that was a huge thing for me as well. That was a very emotional day. And I was surrounded by friends and family, and I always said, you can be surrounded by 100 people showing you so much love and still feel so alone because no one knows what you're going through. But you could sit in a chemo ward with one person next to you and just share a nod, and you feel full, because that person knows exactly what you're going through. And it might sound selfish to some people, or it might sound not right, or at least I had all that love and support around me, but I still felt alone because none of them, I couldn't talk to them about how I felt.
You're actually making me tear up. I've actually teared up. Wow. This is deep.
Very deep. And so I think with each experience of my life, I lost pieces of me. That's where I'm getting at. And after chemo, when I was in remission and I heard that I was in remission, cancer's a hard thing to go through because you're staring at death's door. That's how I felt. I don't know how other people feel, but that's how I felt. Like, am I going to get through this? Is the treatment going to work? Am I going to survive? Is this cancer going to become aggressive? Is it going to come back? I mean, you are staring at death's door, and cancer is such a terrifying word that it was just a really hard experience to go through. And I remember looking at my kids. I remember going into their bedrooms one by one while they were sleeping and just crying at the doorway, quietly crying so I didn't wake them up, just thinking, who's going to do your makeup? Who's going to teach you about boys? Who's going to be there on your wedding day? Who's going to walk you down the aisle, or who's going to be there for you? And then I remember having my moment with each of my girls, 'cause I have 2 daughters. And then when I went in and saw my son, who's 6 months old, lying in the cot, that's when I really started crying. And I was screaming, but screaming. And I got down to my knees and I was just asking God, why? Why me? Why? Why is this happening to me? Like, just when I was happy and I had my son and I thought life was good, and then I get this. Why? And I just remember asking over and over again, why? What did I do that was so bad in my life? What did I do to deserve that? And then I stood up and I grabbed his hand, like his little hand went around my pinky, and I remember staring at his face and his eyelashes and his eyebrows and thinking, you'll never going to know who your mum is. And how is that fair? Like, it's not fair. And then somehow my brain switched to, no, fuck this shit, fuck you, cancer. You're not taking me from my son. I'm going to fight.
And this is where the fiery Aries comes out now. This is it.
This is it. And I just said, no, I'm going to fight. I'm not going to leave you without a mum. And I fought 6 months radiation, 1 month chemo, 6 months chemo, 1 month radiation. And then after that, I went crazy. I was like, I'm free. And then I was like, you go from one extreme of being super healthy, sugar-free dieting, trying to alkalize your body to not grow any more disease. Like I researched everything. I was eating strawberries and blueberries and as many antioxidants as I could. And to help my body, I was taking Chinese medicine, Chinese herbs to fight the cancer and to help my body through chemo. And then I went from that extreme to the other extreme of I'm free now. And I was drinking and I was going out and I was dancing and I was, because it's like a second chance at life. It's like a blessing. It's like a gift. I can't even explain it to you. It's just like, here I was.
Knocking on death's door,
for 6 months. And now I'm free. So you go from one extreme to the other. Well, I did. I don't know about other people, but I did. And then got into Zumba and became an instructor and I was fit and healthy again and I was dancing again and music became my life again and it was my culture. Yeah. My culture, my music, and I lost weight through being instructor and I was happy again and I was fine and I had my classes. I was doing 14 classes a week. Like I was insane. I had a new zest in life. Even if I was exhausted from all the chemo, I didn't care. I just went crazy party mode, as in dancing, making up for all the years that I stopped. And then again, life's like, oh no, she's happy here, give her something else. That's what it felt like at the time. Like, let's see how she deals with this. So then all of a sudden I had pain. And I felt like I was giving birth and I'd be screaming in pain and that went on for 4 years. So I had to stop my classes again. I had to stop living again. I couldn't even go for walks without lying down on the sidewalk screaming in pain. And I'm like, what is happening now? And I had to quit my classes and that's when I started Cafe Delites because I couldn't move. I couldn't be physical. So I started the food website because I could still cook.
What was happening? What was going on?
Well, I got tested and my uterus was fine and everything's fine. And I knew it was cyclical because it happened every month when I'd get my period. And they'd look inside my uterus and they'd tell me your uterus is healthy, everything's fine. So for 4 years, back and forth, they thought I had a slipped disc or a pinched nerve or something in my spine. And it turned out that actually the last gynecologist I saw, she was a woman. And this is what really disappointed me is I was begging her, I was crying in her office, please help me. I can't move, I can't walk. I would work, I would cook and have to be lying down on the floor every 5 minutes screaming in pain while I'm cooking, while I'm shooting, while I'm editing photos. That's when I gained all my weight because I'd eat family blocks of chocolate to drown my sorrows.
Now, guys, just to put this in perspective, I need you to understand. It sounds like cooking and shooting, it's all easy. It's not.
No.
Our whole team's experienced the hard way. It's a lot of work. So listening to that story and seeing how she did this all by herself while trying to fight through pain, I don't know how you did it.
Well, I worked 22 hours a day, 7 days a week, no breaks, for a good 7 years to build my business. And within that, this is when the pain started. And so I'd be in pain pretty much every 5 to 10 minutes. I'd throw myself on the floor. My mum would be there. Karina, what can I do? My son was there. He was about 3 at the time, screaming, Mama, I'll call an ambulance. What's going on? And I'd be screaming. I'd be like, no, wait, because I was so used to the pain. I just didn't know what was causing it. And in the end, when I was begging this gynecologist, she finally let me have a scan. And I can't believe I had to beg again. And I knew from the cancer experience, Karina, if your body's in pain and it's telling you something, act on it, do it. Don't listen to these doctors because they're denying you of finding out what's going on to fix it. And in the end, I went and got a scan and they again told me your uterus is fine, everything's healthy, your ovaries are good, you've just got a couple of cysts on your ovaries, but you're fine, everything's fine. And I actually started crying and begged the technicians, please find something. And she said to me, I remember they said to me, you're the first person we've ever had that's asked us to find something. And I'm like, well, if you don't find something, how am I going to fix it? I'm in pain. And that's when they went behind my uterus and found all of this endometriosis, like all the disease was sticking my uterine wall to the back of the uterine wall to my intestine. I had some on my kidney wall. It was just everywhere. So I finally knew how to fix it. I went on a 5-year waiting list to have surgery.
Oh my goodness.
I needed a hysterectomy. I had a partial hysterectomy and it was a 5-year waiting list. And I remember
5 years of pain still
on top of everything. So what I did was I went to Coles one day. It was just before Christmas, and I went to the supermarket to buy food for a shoot, for recipes. And here I am pretending everything's fine in comments and everything, but really I'm fighting another demon pretty much. And I remember being in the middle of Coles. My mum was there, and I just was thrown on the floor from the pain. Like the pain would throw me on the floor, and I was screaming in the middle of the aisle, and people were surrounding me saying, "Oh my God, what's wrong with her? Should we call an ambulance?" And I was like, "No, it's okay. I know what's wrong. This is normal." And people were freaking out because it's not normal, but to me it was normal. And I remember my mum helped me out of the supermarket, walked me to the bench, and right there I rang the hospital and said, "I'm on a 5-year waiting list. I need your help. I can't wait 5 years. I need this now." And she said to me, she told me to wait. And then when she got back on the phone, she said, "You're not going to believe this. Somebody just called half an hour ago to cancel their surgery appointment because it's on Christmas."
Oh, wow.
And I was like, who would cancel this is saving my life pretty much. And she asked me, do you want this surgery? And I said, yes. And she said, "Do you mind spending Christmas in hospital?" I said, "No, I don't care. I just want surgery. I needed to not be in pain anymore." I mean, how many years have I like cancer and everything that I'd gone through? I just wanted to be free. And I had surgery.
On Christmas Day?
On Christmas Day. That was my Christmas gift.
Wow.
And I had a partial hysterectomy, so I kept my ovaries because I didn't want to be thrown into menopause. I was only 30. I won't tell you what year it is because then I'll give away my age. But I was basically 37, I think. And I just gave away my age.
No, technically not.
No. And had the hysterectomy. And I remember the next day the nurse said to me, "You need to walk to get your blood circulation going after surgery," because it was a major surgery. And I said to her, "But I can't walk," because I'm so used to not walking. I was walking like hunchbacked for 4 years. 4 years walking completely bent over because I couldn't stand up straight and because I would be in pain. And she said, no, you have to walk. And I said, "But I need help." She said, "No, you don't. Walk." And I was like, okay. So I got out of bed. I took my time. I got out of bed and I again was walking hunched over just in case. And then I stopped and I went, I wonder what would happen if I start to straighten my back. So I started straightening up, and before I knew it, I was upright. And I started crying because I was like, oh my God, I can walk like a normal person again. And I'm walking. And I remember ringing my mom and I was like, "Mom, guess what? I'm walking." And it was those little milestones that throughout my whole life that just mean so much to me. It's something so small to some people, but it meant so much to me to be able to walk up and no pain. I didn't feel any pain except for the surgery pain, but that was nothing to me. And I got back in the bed and I started working. I was editing videos, I was posting, I was replying to comments, and my mum came in and she's like, "Karina, you're crazy. You need to rest." And I'm like, I don't rest. I work. And that was the 22 hours a day, 7 days a week. The only time off I had was on my surgery. But the next day I was working again. And that was the last traumatic health issue I'd been through, but I had already gained all that weight because in that endometrial journey, I was given steroids, I was given hormonal treatments, and I was eating a family block of chocolate every day to soothe.
Not to mention all the delicious meals that you're
Things that I
preparing
cook.
constantly on a daily basis.
But I wouldn't eat what I cooked.
Really?
Even though I was cooking low carb, low fat, diet friendly food that I could have eaten, I was eating the chocolate
Oh, wow.
because that was soothing my soul. I was eating my emotions and I wasn't happy, and there was just so much going on in my life, and my dad was sick as well, and there was just too much happening. And then I moved from Melbourne to the Gold Coast. We moved state and I got bigger. So I was 110 kilos when I moved.
What's that in pounds?
Let's see. I'll tell you right now. 110 kilos. I was 240 pounds when I moved.
Mm-hmm.
And then living here a year, I was renovating my house. I got up to 275 pounds.
What was your go-to snack there? 275 pounds.
Chocolate.
Little babies?
Chocolate. Chocolate. I'm a chocoholic. Terrible chocoholic. And sweets.
Chocolate.
Waffles, pancakes.
Oh, wow.
Ice cream.
Well,
Ice cream.
I'm vouching for your French toast. I've tried it. It's
but I
bloody
cook you
delicious.
diet French toast. I don't cook you the full fat one.
And the pancakes. And the pancakes. They're
Pancakes are good.
delicious.
But I do lower those calories as well.
Very good.
So I think I figured out what was making me unhappy at 125 kilos, which was 200 and what pounds? I forgot. 200.
So what? 260. It's
Like 1,000 pounds, 275 pounds. And so I asked for a divorce. I separated, which was a huge call for me because I didn't want to break my family. But in the end, I'd look in the mirror and not recognize the woman staring back at me. And I thought to myself, what have you done? What have you done?
And I think
Who
if
is
you
this?
reflect back on your whole entire life journey, you had so many ups and downs, and you've struggled through so many different traumas and hardships.
And lost myself.
And lost yourself, and then found yourself, and then were reborn, and then you're looking at yourself now and go, what's happened? All these second chances in life.
I basically looked in the mirror very disappointed at myself because God had given me a second chance, or the universe or whatever you believe in gave me a second chance. I didn't take it, took advantage of it, I guess, in a way. I was very unhappy, more with myself, and didn't recognize the woman staring back at me, didn't like what I saw. I would avoid my reflection at all costs, walking past shop windows, walking past mirrors, anything I'd walk past, I'd avoid.
And then I guess it's that catch-22. As soon as you avoid it, you just want your comfort zone, and your comfort zone was chocolate.
Mm-hmm. And in the end, I remember
Cyclical.
I got up one morning and I struggled to get to the bathroom from the bedroom, which was like 6 meters away. Like it was nothing away. It was so close. And I struggled to get up out of the bed. And then I struggled to walk, and I heard the thumping sounds walking to the bathroom. And then I looked in the mirror and went, who is that? Who is that? I don't know you.
And I think all throughout you were telling me these little stories. Like, it's just interesting to hear how you reflect back when we're in a plane together. And you were always telling me how when you clip those seatbelts,
yeah,
she needed a seatbelt extension. That's like, imagine asking for a seatbelt. Well, you didn't have to even ask; they would see, I guess.
No, I'd have to ask for a seatbelt extension, and I was embarrassed to do that. And then I was disappointed at myself again. Like I was constantly hard on myself.
Even driving, you were telling me about the steering wheel.
The steering wheel.
So tell us. Yeah.
So when I drive my car, any car that I got in, the steering wheel would rub on my stomach, and I'd have to push my seat back to be able to fit, because my stomach would be so big that I couldn't move the steering wheel.
Man.
And I just remember the day that I separated from my husband, I said to myself, now you change your life. Now you find yourself. Who are you? You've been everything to everyone for so long. You've been mother, you've been daughter, you've been wife, you've been neighbor, you've been friend, you've been everything to everyone, but you forgot to be you.
Sorry. You guys just pulled my cord. That's right.
You forgot to be, you forgot who you are. You forgot, who are you? And I would literally stare in the mirror and go, who are you? And I had to find myself again. So I transformed. I started my journey.
And you've transformed by, I'm guessing, using your own recipes, right?
That was part of it.
Very good.
But we've run out of time.
We have run out of time. Let's talk about how Karina managed to lose all those pounds from 275 at her heaviest to what she is now. I'm not going to reveal that either, just like her age. But doesn't she look sexy now?
Oh, thank you. I actually wanted to touch on my tattoo. I forgot to mention it. So after chemo, when I went crazy and did all my partying and everything, I was so proud of what I'd just been through, that I'd been through that massive, massive journey of, I think it just changed my entire life, that I was so proud of myself. So I got this tattoo, which people on Facebook have called me trash for having a trashy tattoo, but what people don't realize, it's actually my cancer ribbon, and it's purple because Hodgkin's lymphoma is purple.
Mm-hmm.
And I've written Libertad in the middle of it, which means freedom in Spanish. And I did that because I was so proud, and I cried while he was doing this. At the time, I was just so proud.
It's a badge of honor.
It was my badge of honor.
Mm-hmm.
And so that meant a lot to me. So when Facebook, people, when they start writing things, just be careful what you're writing, because you don't know. You don't know. You don't know me. You don't know who you're writing to. You don't know what that person's gone through. And to be judged so harshly and criticized over a tattoo even, that has so much meaning. That's when I was reading those comments going, this is just sad. What have we become as a society? Where it's okay to just insult people and abuse people.
And this is so crucial to, I guess, your idea of creating a podcast where you're naked, but not naked.
And where we go deep.
And when we go deep, that's right. Where we're exposing ourselves to our true selves and not being afraid to tell people our stories.
I think the one takeaway from this podcast that I want out there is it's okay to talk.
That's right.
It's okay to create a space for people to come and talk where you're not going to be called a liar. You're not going to be judged. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be criticized, because everyone has a story. Absolutely. You have a story. Our producer has a story. Everybody that I've spoken to in life has a story. And when I go through my things, when I've been through my things, a lot of people used to say to me, I don't know how you went through that. You're so inspirational. I could never do that. I could never go through cancer. I could never go through the pain of endometriosis or, losing my dad. I don't know how you went through that. But you are going through things. They're just your own things, because everybody has a story and everybody is inspirational in their own way. And so this space, for years I've wanted to create a space where it's okay to talk. Who are you behind what we see?
Mm-hmm. Not just food.
Not just food. Not just Victoria's Secret lingerie. Which are getting a lot of love, by the way. Who would have thought?
Right.
But so I think with my transformation has come a lot of pride, because it's not just the transformation in weight, it's transformation psychologically, it's emotional transformation. I found myself. And we can talk more about this.
So stay tuned, subscribe.
And the main question I'm getting, did I have surgery?
Ba-ba-bow.
Ba-bow.